Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle. We're so glad to have you here today. The countries we're going to talk about today all have signs and symptoms of going through the foreigner vicious cycle. So let's get into these three countries we're talking about today. Number 1, Panama. Panama is the little Latin American country that has been named the best country in the world to live more than any other country in the world. And for that reason alone, Panama is a definite no-go for us. Imagine how used and abused Panama has gotten over the years, with so many tourists coming and going. Panama has been named the best place to retire in the world for 2025 according to the annual Global Retirement Index. The recognition highlights Panama's appeal for retirees due to several key factors. Let's quickly go through these key factors the Retire Abroad media is talking about. Are you ready? Let's go. They say, Panama has a warm climate. The country offers a tropical climate that is attractive to many retirees. Well, I wouldn't say it's warm. It's more of like a hot climate. The country offers constant high temperatures with very high humidity levels that most people would find unbearable. Be ready for high electric bills running that AC 24/7. It does go down into the upper 70s at night, however. But by 10 o'clock a.m. the next day, the heat is on. They say the cost of living in Panama is generally lower than in many Western countries, allowing retirees to stretch their retirement savings even further. Well, what do we say about that? Do you notice how they compare cost of living to developed countries in the Western world? The reason why they do that is because if they compared Panama to other developing countries in Latin America, it is the most expensive country with the exception of maybe Costa Rica. Oops, I spoke too soon. It is more expensive than Costa Rica. Here's a Costa Rica versus Panama cost of living comparison for March 2025. There you go. We have to remember, in countries like Panama that have been promoted for years and years, not just by the Rams, but by hundreds of vloggers and others, the prices are not what are actually stated. This is why we say add on at least 20% to the prices they tout around. That way you won't have sticker shock when you get there. Now, Panama can be reasonable, but you have to go outside the areas they promote. Traffic-heavy areas are not cheap. Grocery store prices are more than in the USA, and we were shocked about the food prices in Panama. They say integration into local society. The country is known for its welcoming attitude towards expats, making it easier for retirees to integrate and build a community. If that's true, then why do expats always stick together in foreign neighborhoods? Just saying. I mean, we've been to Panama many times and have checked out the whole country, all the way to Puerto Armuelles at the border of Costa Rica, and all the way back to Panama City. And the really touristy areas where the expats actually want to live are within the confounds of tall brick walls and gated communities. That, by the way, do still get home invaded by robbers and thieves. The one true thing they did say, though, however, is Panamanians are welcoming people, and they seem to really like Americans. The reality is, unless you speak Spanish, integration will not happen and you will always feel like an outsider, and that's true just about anywhere you live abroad. Surprise! All over the internet, the Rams and vested interests tout about how safe Panama is. The deal with Panama is, during the day, if you stay in the touristy areas, you'll probably be fine unless you're taking public transportation. Then you will be a target for a pickpocket or a snatch and run. There are, of course, important details. One must know how to stay safe in Panama during the day. Panama does have some rough and tough neighborhoods you'll need to stay out of. Touristy expat neighborhoods are often the target of invasions and armed robberies in Panama. Women alone are targets for sexual assaults in Panama. Going to nightclubs and becoming intoxicated are not recommended in Panama. Getting cash out of ATMs located right off the street is not a good idea. Being out after dark ups your chances of becoming a victim of a crime in any Latin American country. Let's put it this way. There are 4 stages of the vicious cycle, and Panama has been in stage 4 for over a decade now. And this is what happens when expats flock to the cheaper countries. The foreigner vicious cycle happens. Our next country is Colombia. Colombia, especially Medellin, has seen better days. We were sharing our thoughts about Colombia 6 years ago, telling our viewers that it's going to be a country with spiraling out of control prices and crime levels. Well, here we are. Colombia. Colombia has been receiving huge foreigner traffic since about 2018, and ironically, we listed Colombia being in the top 5 bubble countries back in 2019. But then the 2020 pandemic hit and people stopped traveling so much. And that is the only reason why the bubble did not pop sooner.
Medellin has been pumped for going on at least 8 years that I can remember, maybe even close to a decade. The prices have already been really frothy and spiking in a specific RAM promoted area of Medellin, especially in that area. It's at a point now where the crime rates are now starting to show up. They're just slowly, and remember the crime rates can show up slowly. It can start out with just more street crime and then more home invasions.
That's how it started out with Cuenca. I remember it was always like people pulling off jewelry as you're walking down the street.
More street crime and then more violence.
Snatching your cell phone, and then several years later it became home invasions.
Yeah, there's a stepping way that it happens. Once the rich foreigner label is attached and you're profiled that way as a foreigner, it's bad. It's bad for everyone. Everybody else that comes after you that doesn't act like you, unfortunately gets labeled as one of you, because you look like them. Unless you go outside of their area and you get to know the locals and you stay on the local level and like
Unfortunately, Colombia has turned out to be much worse than we thought. With out-of-control, horrific dating scams where many a young tourist is seduced by wretched and evil women who drug and then rob and murder their victims. The latest in a string of murders of Americans happened just 2 weeks ago. An American tourist was found dead in a Cartagena hostel in Colombia. They're still investigating the death, but witnesses told the police that the man was leaving with someone else from Tuesday night until Wednesday morning. In the past 3 years in Colombia alone, there are reports of 80 foreign tourists dying under suspicious circumstances, and 39 of those deaths were Americans. The U.S. Embassy has told Americans to be careful with the dating apps, but it seems like it's still happening. Obviously, this crime is an easy way to rob your victims. Just get a beautiful woman to seduce a young man and then drug him. Easy peasy. But now most people are onto them, and so what they will do is spread themselves out in other areas of Colombia, such as Cartagena and Bogota. And the cost of living in Colombia? Well, Colombia is popular with youngish digital nomads, and as a result, the touristy neighborhoods have exploded in price. What used to be $350 2-bedroom, 2-bath, decent size, nice rentals in Medellin are now $800 to $850. Besides the usual stuff that sends foreigners back home, such as health-related issues, missing family, and the inability to integrate, the Colombia revolving door is constantly rotating with new people, while most of them rarely stay longer than a year or two. Where in the foreigner vicious cycle does Colombia fit into right now? Colombia is in stage 3 out of the 4 stages. And this is what happens when expats flock to cheaper countries. The foreigner vicious cycle happens. So we said these things about the countries that foreigners are moving to in droves years ago, and here we are with the skyrocketing rental prices in Medellin pushing out the locals. The astronomical rise in rental prices can be attributed to a complex interplay of factors. One significant contributor is the influx of tourists and digital nomads who have been drawn to Medellin in recent years, enticed by its pleasant climate, vibrant culture, and relatively low cost of living compared to other major cities. However, as the number of foreigners in the city has grown, so too has the demand for short-term rentals, driving up prices and making it increasingly difficult for locals to secure affordable, long-term housing. Where have we heard that before? Moving on to country number 3, France. The overpriced, overrated, and over-touristy country that really has lost its shine a long time ago. That's not us saying that either. It's our own viewers who have commented about France. It's not just about what we think of a country, it is about the people who have been there and done that. Here is just a few things our viewers have to share about France. All we have to do is listen carefully to what people are saying. Just a simple word in a sentence can tell you the state of a country. Take that word and do a little research and find out the truth for yourself. So the first commenter had this to say. They are focusing on the wealthy expats. The government of France are rejecting Americans wanting to obtain long-term visas unless they have a load of money in the bank. Well, we did some checking. Proof that you have sufficient financial resources. Normally, individuals who do not hold a passport of an EU member country will need to show that they have an annual monthly income of more than the French minimum wage, and this is of January 1st, 2024, which was $1,766.92, which is actually 2018 USD. Or if you're a couple, you have to show a combined gross income of 3,500 euros or 4,050 USD. And the average Social Security check for Americans is $1,850. That's going to lock them out unless they want to spend their whole check amount for a cost of living to live in a foreign country. And if you can't show Social Security income or employment or a pension, you have to show you have at least $68,575 in savings per person per year. That will definitely lock out many Americans, but not all Americans, from moving to France. Another commenter had this to say. The crime rate for France, shown in the graph, surprised me. When I looked into residency, the variety of taxes on not just income but US-based assets was statistically a lot. So not only would you be leaving poorer after the charm had faded in France, but you might get robbed in a non-official capacity as well. It made me wonder if rural and small city France are any better or not. Now there are two things addressed in this comment. One, the crime rates, and the high taxes on foreigners. Countries that have a treaty with the U.S. will not double tax your income, but many have a wealth tax and will tax your assets, dividends, stocks, and bonds. And well, France is one of them. Anyone interested in moving to France or Italy should check out the wealth tax involved. Surprise! And the crime rates have spiked in France like they have in all European countries as well as the USA. There are two different types of crimes that tourists and foreign residents should know about when they move to Europe. There is what they call the petty crime, which really isn't petty, but tourist ministries and governments call it that to keep it set apart from the more violent crime. The first type of crime is the tourist crime, and when tourism spikes, so does the tourist crime, and some of that crime, it can be violent. Most of it is crime of opportunity, and is why so many foreigners are the victims of snatch and grabs and pickpocket. Is that petty to you? Petty crime should be labeled as non-violent crime, but it still is serious. Let's say, for instance, a woman doesn't want to give up her purse, and she continues to hang on to it while the thief is pulling it from her, and during the struggle, she falls down and breaks her hip. How is that petty? They call these types of crimes petty, but as we can see, many so-called petty crimes turn aggressive and ugly. Well, that's violence. Alright, moving on to what another commenter said about France after a French person said this. If you are retired, don't come to live in France. We don't need more healthcare refugees and property snatchers. Stay in your country and fix your own problems there. Somebody commented and said, not interested in living under Sharia law either. Now the response from Kay explains it in just 2 words. You know us, we'd take this response and do the homework on it and find out everything we need to know, such as France may be a country that no longer has that shine and appeal as it once did. Sadly, they call this Europe, but it's transforming itself into a unified global program called the EU. What was once a country with a vibrant and rich French culture is changing before our very eyes, as are all of the member states. We don't think many Europeans realize that, unfortunately. So there you go, the 3 countries that no longer shine. Some of you today will have to go to Europe to experience it for yourselves, and if you have the money to do that, then go for it. But for those of you who see it for what it really is, save your money and enjoy your own country for a change. The USA is a beautiful country full of diversity and wonderful people. Yes, most Americans are generous, kind, and warm people, and their sweatpants and Crocs and loud behavior isn't going to make us think any differently about them. Now that's petty and superficial. The saying, never judge a book by its cover, is something Europeans need to learn, quite frankly. The glass is half full, and it's getting fuller every day. All one needs to do is observe. If you have eyes, look, and if you have ears, listen. That's it for this video. Take care and be blessed. Bye-bye.